Ba, paano nangyari yun? Bakit naging Thursday? Well, it is Thursday, July 30, 2020, and you are watching Agenda, and I am Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV, channels 8 and 250, or on Facebook, One News PH, and One News PH YouTube. Welcome to the program, and today, I would suggest that you watch our show today because we have a very interesting lineup of guests and topics. Because, for instance, kung isa kayo sa maraming naghihintay makapagpamasahe, pwede na bang magpamasahe? Yung mga therapist ba pwede nang bumalik sa Manila o kaya ay mag-umpisa nang mag-report? Well, we're not yet sure about that, but the word is gyms, internet cafe, etc. May mga magpabubuksan na. So we've invited our friend at the DTI, Undersecretary Irineo Vizmonte, to give us an insight to all of this and find out ano ba ang magiging papayagang magbukas, what shops, what businesses will be allowed to open, at what level will they be allowed to open, and what are the guidelines. And then after that, medyo showbiz ng konti, may pagka-showbiz na may pagka-political. We will tackle this issue. Let's just call it an issue between the Metro Manila Development Authority and the Film Development Council of the Philippines, in particular between General Danny Lim and Liza Diño, because apparently Liza Diño, who was part of the board or something of Metro Manila Film Festival, found herself unceremoniously or rudely sent out and told that, sorry, hindi ka nakasali dito sa film festival na ito. In any case, we'll speak to Liza Diño, and for the record, we reached out to the MMDA, particularly Celine Pialago, because siya naman yung na-quote sa TV na nagsabing, I'm okay with speaking. Sana magkita kami ni Liza. Total, pareho naman kaming beauty queen, I think, if I heard her statement correctly. So, unfortunately, the MMDA group declined to join us in this interview. Hindi naman po natin pag-aawayin, pero we want to be fair. But most important of all, our last but not the least, our interview will be with Joey Concepcion, because Presidential Assistant Concepcion had a meeting with the powers that be of Philippine society. Medyo nagpulong-pulong lahat yung mga big time, and pinag-usapan talaga nila ng masinsinan, what are we going to do? Because as you've heard, there is word from the president's office. Ano ba sinabi ko? Presidential advisor, sorry. Presidential advisor. In any case, the word is, magkakaroon ng pronouncement si Presidente Duterte today about a renewed, invigorated, and very different approach to dealing with COVID. Before all of this announcement, medyo nagkaroon ng seryosong pag-iisip at pag-uusap sila Presidential Advisor Joey Concepcion and the businessmen, conglomerates na teka, pag-usapan natin itong maigi, kasi pag nagkamali tayo ng desisyon at direksyon, baka wala na tayong pag-uusapan dahil mawawala ang ekonomiya natin. In any case, let's find out from all of them when we do our interviews today. Like I said, it's July 30, 2020, Thursday. Kung hindi pa po kayo nagdadasal, magdasal na kayo. And may I request each and every one of you, on this particular day, may we pray for all the government employees, officials, particularly frontliners. Kasi kahapon po, nakatanggap ako ng text message na yung isang officer, yung spokesperson ng Philippine General Hospital. Hindi ko na muna po sasabihin dahil hindi ako sure kung pwede. But apparently, he and his family got COVID-19. And let's pray that the Lord God Almighty would bring healing to all those who have been infected by COVID-19, and that the Lord God Almighty will protect all our frontliners, all the vulnerable people, all the people trying to make a living, and that He would let His will be known and why this is happening, and so that we ourselves can fix our situations, our individual situations, and figure out what's best for us and for the country. In any case, let's go to the stories from the front page of the Philippine Star. First, Malacanang says the government will have major changes in its response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that the President, Rodrigo Duterte, is set to announce these changes today. The palace said that part of this invigorated response will be more COVID-19 testing and more isolation facilities. One of the methods the government will try to explore is the pooled swab testing, which palace says will expand our capacity at least 10 times more than the present testing numbers. Speaking of pandemic response, Vice President Leni Robredo presented her own roadmap to beat COVID-19. In her public address, Robredo expressed faith in the Filipinos, saying that we are not stubborn and that we will win the fight against the pandemic. Robredo also laid out several recommendations, starting with reliable data. She also backed the government's plans for pooled swab testing. The Vice President also said that we simply cannot wait for a vaccine, but instead try to stop the spread of the virus as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the Interagency Task Force has approved recommendations of the Trade Department to reopen gyms, internet shops, tutorial, and review centers in general community quarantine or GCQ areas starting August 1. However, these establishments can only operate at 30% capacity. DTI pushed for this step as part of the gradual reopening of the economy, and we will speak to Undersecretary Irineo Vizmonte on the details of this push by the DTI. In other news, the House Ways and Means Committee approved a bill seeking to impose value-added tax on major digital service providers like Netflix to generate revenues to combat COVID-19. Congressman Joey Salceda, chairman of the committee, clarified that this is not a new tax as it only closes loopholes for large foreign corporations. Salceda also said that small online businesses are not covered by the measure. And lastly, Lieutenant General Gilbert Gapay has been named the new Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief. Gapay, the top-notcher of the Philippine Military Academy 1986 class, will assume his post starting August 3. And those are the major stories on the front page of the Philippine Star. Yan na po, no? So medyo abangan ninyo today, magkakaroon ng anunsyo. Pansamantala, let's talk to our first interviewee, Undersecretary Irineo Vizmonte and Usec for Management Services Group at the DTI. He also serves as the Chief of Staff of the Office of the Secretary. Usec Vizmonte, good morning, sir.
Magandang umaga po, Sir Sito. Nice to see you again.
Hindi ko talaga maalis sa kaisipan ko kahit na nasabi ko na kanina para ako bigla ko na flashback sa isang TV show. Artistahin talaga dating mo, Usec Vizmonte. Sino bang artista kasi yung kamukha mo? in any case, no, seriously, I guess, it is at my age na medyo biglang nagkakaroon tayo ng flashback na ganyan. In any case, how are things for you? How are things sa DTI? Mukhang busy kayo kasi nabalitaan nga namin na yung DTI ang nag-push ng masinsinan for the gradual reopening of other businesses. Kasi kung hindi, magkakalintik-lintikan tayo. What has the DTI been pushing for?
Ah, dagdag po ito sa mga negosyo na nabuksan na natin sito in the past, ano. As you know, meron tinatawag tayong mga category 1, 2, 3, 4 na industries or businesses. And
Mhm.
after ma-declare tayo na GCQ or even ECQ, nag-ooperate na po yung mga category 1. Ito yung mga essential retail, manufacturing, yung mga establishments like hospital. But
Mm.
unti-unti po yan nabuksan na natin. And pagdating po sa GCQ, meron pong mga naiiwang establishmento. Ito po yung category 4 na tinatawag.
Mm.
So ito po yung mga kadalasan masasabi nating hindi essential. Pero ang DTI po, true to its mandate, trabaho, negosyo, consumer, talagang inano po natin, ipinaglaban po natin na mabuksan po itong mga negosyo na ito under category 4 para po mabalik yung negosyo at saka po yung trabaho. So,
At saka Usec, allow me to point out, no, alam ko hindi madali yon kasi akala ng mga tao nagmi-meeting lang kayo, pagkatapos magsa-suggest kayo, babasa kayo ng recommendation. Eh alam ko bugbugan diyan sa loob ng
ah,
IATF, medyo nagkakabarasuhan kayo.
mm.
Is that correct?
Hindi naman ho siguro eksaktong brasuhan ano, kundi,
Oo.
intindihan lang po dahil may binabalanse po tayo, eh. Ito po yung
Hmm.
balancing nung health measures natin,
Hmm.
versus yung economic measures natin.
Hmm.
So, hindi po puwedeng maiwan yung isa, kailangan sabay po ito. At,
Hmm.
tunay po nitong mga dito po sa pagbubukas natin ng mga dagdag na mga negosyo, hindi po puwedeng maiwan yung mga tinatawag nating health protocol.
Of
At
course.
kasama po 'yan dun sa 'pag nag-present po tayo ng mga bubuksan, kailangan sabihin natin paano ba yung pag-iingat para
Mhm.
hindi po mag-spread itong
But but
coronavirus.
but at the same time, Usec Vizmonte, I don't want to devalue yung efforts ng DTI. Kasi alam ko siyempre humble ka, humble yung DTI. Pero talagang pinaglaban ninyo yan at
Oo.
siyempre matinding usapan. Inabot yata kayo mga ano, isang buwan bago po napapayag nyo yung IATF at saka yung mga scientists na teka, sumusunod naman yung Pilipino pero pag hindi natin binuksan itong mga level 2, level 3, tatamaan tayo. In any case, ako na ang magsasabi because alam kong matindi ang debate sa loob, no? Okay. So ngayon, pumayag na yung IATF. Anong mga levels ang binubuksan na ngayon?
Para po mabuksan natin, nagre-categorize po tayo ng mga business activities currently in category 4 to category 3.
Hmm.
Prior to this recent approval, nauna na po 'yan yung mga dine-in restaurant at saka yung
Mhm.
pong barbershops and salon. So yun pong mga yun ay talagang category 4 sila. But earlier on, we were able to get the approval of the IATF to move these items into category 3. Oh, so ngayon po nadagdag yung nabanggit nyo kanina doon sa balita. Ito po
Mhm.
yung mga testing centers, gyms, mga personal grooming services, pet grooming services
Mhm.
to be allowed to open soon, ano, at ang
Mhm.
target nga po natin 'yan ay sa August 1. At
Okay.
of course, again, reminder po tayo, marami po tayong mga health protocol na nasusog para po again hindi po kumalat itong COVID-19 na virus.
Okay, let's make the step-by-step clarifications, Usec, no? Sa mga nadidinig ko kasi, first, maraming sabi-sabi na sasagap do sa mga nabuksan na for restaurants daw, anong percentage of capacity ang pinapayagan? Kasi nag-umpisa tayo 30%. Tapos may napabalitang 50%. 50% na ba ang bago o tinaasan ninyo?
Yung ngayon po ay simula po nung July 21, taas na po tayo from 30% to 50% ang mga dine-in restaurants.
Okay.
Ah, So, maganda po 'yan. Hindi naman natin masasabi na kumikita sila, pero talagang malaking tulong po ito para mas maraming makapag-report sa trabaho. Kasi ang reklamo po sa atin, talagang dahil, kokonti lang yung operation, kokonti lang din yung nakapagre-report sa trabaho, and most of them para mapagbigyan lahat, parang
Mm.
meron silang, 4 na araw reporting or 3 araw para magkaroon ng complete rotation lahat ng empleyado.
Okay, now
So, 'yan 50% na po ang dine-in restaurant so far.
okay, 'yan ba may maaasahan pa nating umakyat to 60 or 75%? Ano ang basa ninyo diyan?
'Yan. Consistent po sa deklarasyon ng ating pangulo, sabi nga natin at even yung mga namumuno sa implementation, kailangan daw po, dahan-dahan, unti-unti lang ang pagbubukas. So,
Hmm.
kung nakakaagapay naman po yung enforcement natin at monitoring at, nakikita po natin na maganda yung compliance ng, mga establishment. At so far, maganda naman po yung naipapakita at nakikita naming, performance ng mga dine-in restaurants and barbershops.
Mm.
Puwede ho yan na after 15 days mag-evaluate kami, and then
Mhm.
tingnan po namin at mag-recommend kami.
Okay, now, pasensya ka na kung parang nag-uusap lang tayo sa kanto 'no o sa tindahan. Kasi yung mga nasasagap ko talagang mga taong nagtatanong, eh.
Hmm,
Next question, yung manikurista ba raw? Kasi may mga nagsasabing, "Hindi puwede 'yan, bawal 'yan." May nagsasabing, "Puwede 'yan." Kasi
hmm.
merong mga sumisimple na, Usec, eh. Kahapon may nasagap ako, biglang, "Oh, magkita tayo dito, dun na lang kita seserbisan." So sabi ko, "Teka, teka, alam ba ninyo yung ginagawa ninyo?" Okay, Usec.
So, yun pong ating mga dito po sa bagong labas natin na nakuha tayong approval, basta yung mga personal grooming po na yan, in addition dun sa mga ino-offer ng barbershops and salon, halimbawa po yung mga hair treatment, nail care,
Hmm.
skin care, lahat po na yan ay, napapayagan na natin ano sa
Okay.
sa darating na mga araw. So,
Mhm.
ibig lang sabihin po niyan, naku, mahigpit po yung ating pagpapatupad ng mga health protocol. In fact,
Mhm.
dito po sa atin na sinasabi natin na, itong, personal grooming, dahil nabanggit niyo nga ho yung, massage ano, na
Mm.
meron po tayong exception na hindi po natin pinapayagan pa under, GCQ. Ito po
Mhm.
yung full body massage. Pero yung lahat po ng mga services nila ay, pinapayagan na po natin.
Mabuti mabuti
Meron lang po
nabanggit mabuti nabanggit mo 'yan, Usec, Vizmonte, kasi, nung nagpagupit ako, 'di sabi ko, "Gupit lang, okey." Tapos, parang nag-a-apologize yung barbero, "Sir, sorry, hindi kami puwedeng magmasahe." Sabi ko, "Hindi naman ako naghihingi ng masahe, eh." "Hindi,
hmm,
kasi sir sa IATF, yung bang shoulder massage, yung neck
oo,
massage, yung complimentary yun, eh," yung gano'n 'no.
oo.
So ngayon puwede na yun.
Puwede na yun,
Para okey. So yung manicure, pedicure, puwede na rin yun?
puwede na rin yan po, oo.
Oh, pero kailangan merong gloves, kailangan may
Yes,
mask, may
mm,
face shield,
mm.
merong, ah, para tayong nasa Saudi, eh, 'no,
Oo.
merong belo, eh, 'no?
In fact, ang suggestion nga po dun sa mga nail care, itong mga manicurista, dapat daw
Oo,
po merong shield na lalagyan mo
oh,
lang ng butas yung kamay mo para maserbisyohan mo yung kliyente mo, something like
oo.
that, ano. So,
Naku,
maybe
ma
it could be
mahirap
acrylic or, plastic
to,
acetate, but,
oo.
the intention is really to provide a protective shield between the client and the person.
Palagay ko mabubuti na yung bumili na lang silang belo dun sa Quiapo, kasi yang acrylic shield na yan, 'pag hindi mo naigalaw ng maayos, baka kung ano ang matungkab nung manicurista. In any case, let's go to your current announcement, because yesterday I happened to visit my therapist. Kasi alam
Mm,
mo naman, dispalinghado na yung aking, spine. So nagpunta ako, and siya, yung functional therapy facility, so open sila.
mm,
Allowed naman 'yon as a
hmm,
primary service.
yes,
Pero napag-usapan namin yung mga gym, at ang reaction niya, sabi niya, "Sir, kung 30% lang ang papayagan as initial, naku, marami pong hindi magbubukas kasi hindi mababayaran ng kuryente at saka yung mga sweldo." Parang feeling nila sa lalaki raw, yung malalaking gym daw, ano, Usec Boy. Kasi sabi nila, sa laki ng mga facility, laki ng upa, laki ng kuryente, aircon, etc., 30% does not make sense to open a facility.
Yeah.
Ano pong masasabi niyo dyan?
Tama po 'yan. Ganyan din po yung, tingin namin do'n sa mga una nating mga establisyemento tulad nung dine-in at saka mga barbershops na
Mhm.
talagang hindi naman po talaga kikita at, 30% ano. So,
Mhm.
opportunity lang po na makapagbukas at mabalik yung, trabaho ng mga empleyado nila at,
Mhm.
siguro mabayaran yung some of the overhead expenses pero hindi po talaga natin masasabing kikita sila at this point ano dahil,
Mhm.
yun nga po consistent dun sa gusto natin na konti-konti muna, dahan-dahan.
Okay, papaano itong ano, computer shop sa Usec Vizmonte? Kasi,
Mhm,
siyempre papasok na ang mga bata sa eskuwela,
mhm,
marami umaasa sa computer shop,
oo,
pero ang mga computer shop, who's going to monitor them? Kasi sa dami, libo-libo 'yan, bara-barangay 'yan, at I'm sure yung iba nga diyan baka hindi pa nakarehistro sa DTI. Papaano natin masisiguro na itong mga computer shop na ito, una, yung kanilang aircon system ay hindi magkakahawahan, na nagkakaroon
mhm,
ng disinfection, etc.
mhm. So maganda po talagang, i-limit talaga natin ano dahil dito nga sa approval na nakuha natin, talagang ano lang, work and educational purposes lang ang ating mga internet shops. Yung pong
Yes.
mga nagdodota, naku, wag ho muna tayong ano, hindi pa ho natin pinapayagan 'yan. At malaking
Mm.
bagay po ang ating, local government, yung mga barangay po natin sa pagpapatupad po ng mga ganitong mga establisyemento para maiwasan po yung nagkukumpol-kumpol o yung mass gathering ano. At,
So
naobserbahan po 'yan, marami pong naka-observe dun sa mga ganyang bagay lalo na yung mga may mga spectator ano, yung mga bilyaran, nag-iipon-ipon po sila diyan at, similar
mhm.
to this, kailangan po talaga merong mga umiikot para mabantayan itong mga internet shops na ito.
So yung sa internet shops, kailangan siguruhin ng mga LGUs na walang mga gaming or non-educational,
Correct,
non-professional programs or
oo.
activities.
Tama po 'yan. Kasi nga po medyo may kailangan po ng balanse dito. Sabi nila, "Hindi, maglalaro lang ang mga bata diyan." Pero paano naman talaga yung mga bata, mga tao na may intensyon na gamitin ito sa pag-aaral ano, o
Mm.
kaya matuto. So, hindi naman ho puwedeng, nating, ipagwawalang-bahala 'yun. So, siguro through enforcement and, close monitoring, maipapatupad po natin itong hangarin nitong ating pagbubukas ng mga internet cafe.
Okay, sa pagbubukas nitong mga facilities na ito, itong gyms, computer shops, ewan ko meron bang drive-in cinemas? Parang hindi pa ako nakakita nun sa talambuhay ko. Review centers, pet grooming. Ano po yung, policy requirement or announcement niyo para malinaw na ito yung patakaran, maliban sa 30% capacity only?
Okay. So, yung mga usual po kasi natin yung kailangan na yung wearing of mask, kailangan po ay, laging, sinusunod diyan. Ito po yung, for contact tracing purposes, kailangan po yung customer bago pumasok sa establishment, kailangan makuha po natin yung kanilang, basic information ano. At dun
Mhm,
naman po sa mga empleyado, na ng mga establisyemento, talagang kailangan ng daily health, declaration na ginagawa nila. So,
mhm,
nire-recommend rin po namin dahil para mapadali, kasi mahirap din naman po yung araw-araw nagsusulat, meron pong mga registration na tinatawag through Stay Safe or Safe Pass, eh. So, baka
hmm.
puwede po nilang, magamit dito o particularly yung mga establishment baka, mas maganda mag-subscribe kayo dito sa mga app na ito. Makakatulong din po sa ating mga ano 'no, mga establisyemento. Pero siyempre sa mga maliliit natin po mga MSME, yung mga meron lang po mga maliit na espasyo para sa negosyo, siguro, gamitin po nila yung ating mga, yung hindi sila gagastos. So mahalaga rin po na merong thermal scanning at, yung iwasan na makapasok o yung mga may sakit at, advice po sila na umuwi na lang sa bahay o pumunta sa lugar kung saan sila puwedeng mag-report na sila ay may symptoms na nararamdaman. So, yan po yung mga mahahalaga, no? On top of the usual cleaning, sanitizing. Kasi po, lalo na sa gyms, kailangan every after use talaga nililinis yung mga equipment. At yung mga customers, they should bring their own gloves. At kung walang gloves, dapat yung establishment
Hmm.
should offer something na maybe na pwedeng ibenta kung nakalimutan magdala ng mga kliyente natin.
Okay,
So,
so basic hygiene, sanitation yung requirement nyo. Kasi alam nyo, mayroon ako mga kilala na nagsasuggest na magpa-install ng UV light disinfection system. Yung kaibigan ko, tinuro nga sa akin, pinakita niya sa akin, ang ginagawa nila, yung UV bulb, naka-on sa likod sa loob ng aircon mismo. Na
mm,
para pag humigop yung hangin, daan dun sa UV, patay na yung mga mikrobyo, tapos papasok dun sa cooling system ng aircon. Kasi ang sabi nila, Sito, ang hindi natin naiisip sa Pilipinas ay yung infection ang gagaling sa aircon. Dahil
mm,
sinasabi nga na airborne itong COVID. So are there plans to elevate or escalate the requirements sa mga gym? Kasi
oh,
alam mo, sa gym, diyan tayo hinga-buga, hinga-buga. Eh, sinasabi nila yung buga do'n ka madadali kahit
yeah.
naka-mask kumakalat pa rin.
Sa gym talagang mahigpit po yung 2 meter distancing at
Hmm,
pinapayagan lang po talaga natin ay individual exercise, ano. So, wala
mhm,
pa po yung mga group, mga Zumba, mga Pilates, mga ganyan.
mhm,
Hindi pa po yan mga individual lang po talaga. At mahalaga po rito na sabi nga namin, kung puwede wala ng air conditioning. At marami po kasing pag-aaral na ngayon na mahalaga yung makakaiwas kung outdoor activity rather than
mhm,
indoor. So,
mhm,
yan po at kung hindi naman po maiwasan, eh talagang kailangan ayusin yung ventilation, exhaust system ng mga establishmento. At sikapin po nila talagang maganda. At kung hindi nga kaya, ay yung pong ano, kung pwede sa labas na lang. Ganun po sa mga dine-in. Nire-recommend
mhm,
din po natin na kung pwede, al fresco na lang, ano?
oo.
Mas safe pa.
Yeah. Okay, now matanong ko lang 'yan tungkol diyan sa mga kasi maganda po yung pilit binubuksan ng DTI itong mga MSE, ME sa SM ewan ko na nga ba, mga negosyo period. Pero ang eto may tanong lang ako kasi kahapon personal naman ito, nagpunta ako dun sa isang sporting goods store kasi kailangan kong bumili ng gamit. Yung Decathlon ba, dyan sa may Tiendesitas. Pagdating ko, ay bilib ka rin pinara ako ng security, thermal scan ako, tapos pinag-alcohol, tapos tinanong ako, Sir, ilang taon na po kayo? Parang gusto kong sapukin kaya kita. Pero sabi ko, naintindihan ko naman. Sabi ko, hindi, 64 na ako iyo. Ay sir, kasi po senior citizen kayo, kailangan po doon na lang muna kayo sa waiting area. Sabi ko, bakit? Eh kasi meron pong pupunta doon, kukunin nyo mga bibili ninyo, i-order ninyo, dadali na lang po sa inyo. Tapos sabi ko, bakit? Eh order po yun ng IATF. So now, na-gets mo, Usec, no? Parang pinayagan niyo akong pumunta doon sa tindahan. Pagdating sa tindahan, hindi niyo naman ako pabibilin. Pagkatapos pagtatrabahuin niyo yung empleyado na mamimili para sa akin na hindi naman niya nakikita yung, hindi naman niya alam yung style ko, gusto ko, etc. So parang, what are we going to do about this? Meron na bang, tsaka isa pa ito yung tungkol sa mga below 20. Kasi ngayon, nadidiscover natin, yun ang mga matitibay, yun pa yung kinukulong sa bahay,
Mm.
parang napapag-usapan na ba yan? Kasi alam mo, ang laking segment yan sa mga small, medium enterprises, yung mga below 20 na yan, in
Mm.
terms of employees, pagkatas in terms of consumer, parang sinasabi nila, kami yung matibay, kami yung kinukulong. Kayo sa DTI, meron ba kayong mga plano para
Sir
dyan?
sir, dito po sa ating, sa ating, batas ngayon na sinusunod, meron lang po tarang sinasabi pa hindi naman exactly prohibition para dito sa mga sinasabi natin na mga senior citizen or below 21. Ang sinasabi lang po ay, kung puwede sa bahay lang sila. Pero kung meron silang, work or meron silang essential work na gagawin sa labas ng bahay, dapat po pinapayagan sila at ina-allow sila. Kasi
Or
ang,
may kailangang bilhin, essential
yes,
purchase.
kasi meron po mga tao na mga senior citizen walang kasama sa bahay. So,
Correct.
paano po sila bibili ng gamot nila, ng
Mm.
pangangailangan nila? So, yung pong dating nakikita natin na yun daw mga senior citizen ay dapat, hindi pinapapasok sa supermarket, hindi po yun ano, hindi po yun tama. Gusto po natin na itong mga tao na senior citizen, puwede po silang makalabas para makapagtrabaho o meron silang gagawin na indispensable or essential sa
Hmm.
kanilang, araw-araw na buhay.
Alam mo naman dito sa bahay ko, dalawa kaming senior citizen, ta's yung anak namin below 21 years old, eh, di talo kami. Para kaming kinulong ng pamahalaan, 'di ba? In any case, suporta pa rin tayo. Ang tanong na lang, huling tanong 'no, kasi ito medyo parang sabi nung mga tao, mangyayari kaya yan, bawal na yung pila, sabi ni presidente, at saka puwede ba paperless na tayo? Ano ba ang reaction ninyo sa DTI? Kasi baka naman sa inyo rin nanggaling 'yan.
Oo.
Dahil yung mga ibang kasama mo, alam ko no'n 'no, nag-uusap-usap kami, sabi, "Sito, you need to push for paperless." So ano ba yung, sa paperless at saka pila?
Ay medyo nasimulan na natin 'yan nung mga nakaraang araw and I think, maraming, nangyari ngayon technologically ay COVID driven ano.
Mhm.
Kasi ayaw pong pumasok sa pumunta sa mga opisina, ayaw pumunta sa physically. So, ang gobyerno gumawa ng paraan para makapag-apply sila online.
Hmm, hmm.
So, ito yung, paperless. Pero prior to this COVID, ang ating pong business name registration ay paperless na. At,
Okey.
pinagyayabang po natin 'yan na in 8 minutes nakakuha ka na ng business name registration mo. Although
Hmm.
business name lang ito, Sito, alam mo naman yung
Yeah.
business name, it's different from the mayor's permit or business permit.
Hmm.
So, meron na rin po tayo yung mga, pag-apply po ng mga ICC o PS Mark. Marami po 'yan, on a daily basis. This is online na rin ano, cashless, transaction. Ibig sabihin po niyan, from end to end at the comforts of your home, you may apply and then i-issue na sa inyo yung certificate o na kailangan niyo. Do'n na rin kayo magbabayad, either, GCash, PayMaya, or
Mhm.
whatever means na possible, online.
So
Even
because
our,
oh,
construction sir, yung mga renewal ng mga
oh.
license, nagagawa na rin po 'yan ng, paperless.
So as
Ah,
a result, nababawasan na rin yung pila?
at yung pila sa ngayon parang wala, dahil nga nasa
Hmm.
bahay sila, nagagawa nila 'to. Kung meron man pong mga transaksyon na they still have to do, physically, ano lang po, very, less, transaction or minimal transaction. Hindi po kamukha nung marami 'no, na daily they
Mhm.
have to apply. Yung iba kasi mga once a year mo lang kailangan, so konti lang po yung nag-a-apply dito, walang pila in other words.
Okay. May huling pahabol lang dito, Usec, kung madali ang tanong at sagot lang. Papaano itong mga kumpanya kasi yung mga empleyado, work from home. Pero yung boss nila gusto report to work na. And sabi nila, "Anong problema mo? Nakaka-work from home naman kami, pero ngayon gusto mo pa kaming mag-report." Parang yung bang naglalaban yung old school versus new school.
So, siyempre, depende po 'yan dun sa ano talaga ng mga opisina ano, dahil, hindi rin naman ho madali hindi dahil sa ayaw pumasok ng empleyado, kasi nakikita rin naman natin na hindi pa po supisyente ang public transport. So, kailangan po talaga ng bayanihan natin sa panahong ito, sa between the employer and the employee. Kung tama po, kung nagagawa naman ng trabaho, bakit kailangan pang pumunta sa opisina? So, basic po talaga, kung wala namang gagawin, stay home. At, kung meron namang gagawin at, inuutusan tayo ng boss natin, aba'y pumasok po tayo at,
Hmm.
yan po ang nagpapasuweldo sa atin.
Okay, pero yung mga complaints puwede bang isumbong yun sa DTI?
Oo,
Kasi kung, nakakagawa talaga ng trabaho, because even the president has said that, mag-work from home na lang tayo. Yung iba kasi parang ipinipilit lang, parang gusto yata niya meron siyang kasama dun sa opisina.
oo. Meron po tayong, partnership diyan with DOLE 'no, kasi
Aha,
siyempre 'pag, mga ganyang concern,
puwedeng
usually,
i-report.
puwede pong i-report,
Okay. Thank you very much, Usec Boy Vismonte. And as always, it's a pleasure to hear from you and from the DTI. Pakikamusta na lang si Secretary kasi mukhang lagi nang busy, hindi na ma-reach.
Same here, Sito, maraming salamat for the opportunity to explain and expound on our, recent, issuances and, circulars.
Okay.
Magandang
Thank you
umaga
very
rin
much.
sa ating mga nakikinig at mga nanonood sa agenda.
Okay. Yan po si Undersecretary Irineo Boy Vismonte of the DTI. We will now go for a break and we will be right back here on Agenda. Okay, you're back here on Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV, channels 8 and 250, as well as Facebook, One News PH, and YouTube. And doon po sa hindi pa kumukuha ng Signal subscription, baka magsisi kayo, lalo na kung mahilig kayo sa NBA, because the NBA is back in the Philippines via Signal TV. And it begins tomorrow, Friday. The games begin tomorrow on Signal TV. So going back to that interview we had with Usec Boy Vismonte, I just want to remind yung mga ka-age group ko na mga viewers, you probably have been, you obviously have been staying at home for the last 4 months, and chances are you may have strengthened your arms because of all the housework you've been doing, but you've also been sitting on your butt for the longest time. And the reality is this: everyone keeps developing abs and talking abs, 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 and six packs. But as you get older, if your ass goes soft, your back goes south. Kung humina ang puwit mo, bibigay ang likod mo. And then I am a witness to that. I testify to that because before COVID-19, ang lakas-lakas ng likod ko dahil lagi akong nasa gym every day. Pagkatapos nung nag-COVID-19, wala na, ayoko nang mag-gym kasi siyempre nakasara, ayaw mong mahawa. But eventually when GCQ rolled in, they said, oh, yung mga therapy clinic pwede. I went back. And because before that, I was already again suffering back pains, severe back pains kasi medyo pisa-pisa na po yung spine ko, no? So I'm just reminding all of you out there, don't think abs, don't think pecs and deltoids, etc. Think ass and back, because if you can't sleep, nothing else matters. Okay, let's go to our next guest. Ang bansag ko sa kanya, the naughty lady. Naughty raw siya, kanya siya inaaway. Let's find out from the chairperson of the Film Development Council of the Philippines, Liza Diño. Good morning, Chairman Diño.
Good morning, Sir Sito. Grabe yung naughty.
Pasensya ka na. Kailangan aliw-aliwin natin ang sarili natin. Biglang, baka kasi mapagkamalang entertainment reporter na ako.
I know.
I'm putting everything in context. No, seriously, no? I was rather surprised that there is now this conflict or differences between the MMDA, in particular Metro Manila Film Festival Board, and you. I don't know if you're even representing the Film Development, Film Development Council. Anyari, kasi kakampi ka nila, biglang sabi, notice siya gusto niya kaming ikudeta, in-out namin siya.
Yes, I do represent Film Development Council of the Philippines in the board. And siguro ang masasabi ko during the time that I was a member of the executive committee, I represent the film industry. So we're very active in manifesting, questions, just to make sure that may sinusunod tayong tamang proseso. Siguro in that aspect, masasabi nila na, ay, ano ba yan? Ang dami naman tanong nito ni Sir Liza. But yun yung parang siguro din na nakita ko na parang baka naging reason also for kung ano man yung sinasabi nila sa amin ngayon. And yung 2017 position paper that we submitted to the Office of the President, Office of the Executive Secretary, in the expansion and extension of the Metro Manila Film Festival na gawin ng buong Pilipinas at i-extend ng 2 weeks officially. Kasi doon sa presidential proclamation natin, 10 days lang siya, tsaka Metro Manila lang. Pero by practice naman, buong Pilipinas na tayo, and 2 weeks naman talaga yung run. So bakit hindi pa i-officialize? But there was a technical issue there na once it becomes the whole Philippines, of course, a national government agency now must handle it kasi hindi na siya pwedeng Metro Manila Development Authority kasi Metro Manila lang ang coverage. So yun yung parang pinaka naging siguro contention at naging issue during the time that we discussed it in October 2017. So this was a closed, I wouldn't say closed, but it was already an issue that was discussed. Both sides were heard. This was officially taken as an agenda during the October 2017 Executive Committee meeting. There was resistance, hindi pumayag ang committee, and we left it at that. We respected process. We are on status quo. 2018, 2019, 2020, FDCP was invited still to be part of the board, and we accept the invitation because we support the film industry.
Okay, for the record, from 2017, 2018, that idea was suggested, shot down, addressed, etc. You've never pursued it, or the Film Development Council never pushed for it again and again, never again?
No, there was no update at all dito sa situation na 'yon, o dun sa.
Okay. No, the reason I'm asking that is this. Kasi nung nabasa ko itong storya na ito na nagkabakbakan daw or na ikaw ang nakudeta sa sa Metro Manila Film Festival, I immediately instinctively thought, palagay ko tinrabaho si Liza Diño nung mga nakaaway niyang mga artista or mga direktor when the council came out with its latest rules regarding the return to work in the COVID crisis. Hindi kaya yun yung mga taong parang to get back at you, or was there a group that tinatrabaho ka kasi sa galit dahil dun sa, well, there was a reaction at that time. I just don't know, valid ba yung naisip ko or suspicioso lang ako?
May nabasa po ako na may mga nag-send po sa akin ng message, and there was an article actually in the Manila Times written by Mr. Mauro Vizmonte on a move to unseat me or tanggalin po ako doon sa MMFF Executive Committee by some producers. I hope it's not true. It would be very, very sad kung ganun po yung magiging sitwasyon natin, because I know we have differences in opinions, pero we are one industry. I hope they wouldn't go that far as to doing drastic things para lang po to put me down.
In terms of interagency relations and operation, how does removing you from the Metro Manila Film Festival Board affect the festival and affect the Film Development Council?
In terms of how it affects the Film Development Council of the Philippines, of course, we are the national film agency, and our main mandate is to set the direction of the Philippine film industry. And we know how important the Metro Manila Film Festival has been, not just because of its history, but because of the audience that it gathers every Christmas to really align with the direction of the Philippine film industry. We want to go global. We want to elevate our the filmmaking in the country. We want to be able to export our films. That is the direction of the Film Development Council of the Philippines. And if you have the one biggest film festival in the country that shapes, where we're going, mahihirapan po tayo kung hindi tayo aligned. So yun po ang magiging epekto nun sa industriya, especially with Film Development Council of the Philippines direction per se. But in terms of yung mga nandoon naman po sa executive committee, I hope that we are all aligned sa gusto po natin gawin para sa industriya. Nakikita naman po natin ngayon the immediate need to transform and migrate our content in online platforms and digital platforms. That entails a lot of technical requirements and adherence to international standards. That needs to be addressed. So kung halimbawang ang mga pelikula po natin na talagang tinatangkilik at pinapanood po ng ating mga manonood ay will not meet the standards, mahihirapan din po tayong i-marry yun. So in terms of effect, that's the immediate effect that I can really see.
Oh, okay. Would it be fair observation on my part to say na, kasi ikaw, ewan ko parang I don't know yung background mo completely, Liza, I'll be perfectly honest, no? Pero it's only recently that I got to know about you because of the Film Development Council placement. But would it be fair to say that one of the reasons why our film industry will never grow is because of the cartel and the oligarchy, the film oligarchy that is controlling the industry. Kasi parang taon-taon na lang ito yung nadidinig ko, may bakbakan, may awayan, yung mga workers, laborers sa baba hindi na uplift, wala tayong mga insurance, etc. for the professionalization and support for film industry workers. Parang sabi ko, is this because meron naman talagang oligarchy and cartel na kailangang buwagin na sa film industry?
You check all boxes, Sir Sito. You check all
I'm so,
boxes. Um, the Philippine film industry, we have been for the longest time working in silos. It's a silo mentality siya. Wala tayong structure, wala tayong standards from labor and working conditions, intellectual property rights, distribution policies na sinasabi nyo nga po, oligarchy and cartel in the distribution policies natin dito sa bansa. Yes, of course, that will really stifle the industry because kailangan po talaga ng government intervention dito because different countries all over the world, especially the most progressive ones, adhere to film policies. And kung wala po tayo nun, hindi po talaga malayang makakapagtrabaho at makakagawa ng mga pelikula ang ating mga filmmakers dahil hindi po nila alam kung paano po sila kikilos. They don't know how they can be supported and how they can monetize their creative content because nakadepende sa dikta ng sinihan kung paano po sila ipapalabas. Nagkakaroon tayo ng one day first day, last day. When in other countries, you're assured of a 7-day run because it's an agreement between the distributor and the cinema owner. So hindi po siya basta parang consignment siya na o sige, titry kong isang araw pag hindi ka kumita, tanggal ka sa sinehan. No, this is an agreement. This is a contract na kailangan.
Alam mo, may nagsasabi nga kung minsan itong COVID-19 is God's blessings to certain industries. Hindi kaya blessing to the film industry ito kasi ngayon, wala nang sinihan ngayon. At least I would boldly forecast na up to December 2020, hindi papayagang magbukas ang mga sinihan because of COVID-19. Now, doesn't that give you enough breathing space or working space to restudy the industry? Kasi parang, Liza, wala pa ako nadidinig na real, serious, academic, scientific, and professional study of the industry as a whole and address, or maybe for the National Development Film Council or for the national government to restructure it. Kasi parang, hello, yung Korea ini-export K-pop, it is a national export product. Yeah, and other countries are exporting their culture and their propaganda through the arts, and here we are, happy na tayo mag-film festival sa December. Parang, yun na, hanggang doon na lang tayo.
Actually, FDCP in the last 3 years have been working on creating a better framework in the different aspects of filmmaking and introduce structural changes. It's not easy. Galing po tayo sa 100 taong self-regulated po ang industriyang ito. And ito na nga lang po, sinasabi nyo na nga po, dahil po sa may nakasanayan na sila, nagkakaroon ng imbalance pagdating sa ini-introduce nating reforms, nagkakaroon ng ganitong klaseng retaliation. FDCP right now is really pushing for the workers' rights. We have worked with DOLE because FDCP has limited mandate, but we worked with DOLE in order for them to look into the industry. What should be introduced here in terms of labor, better working conditions, set minimum standards for that. And we have, meron po kaming memorandum circular which serve as the reference policy for the Eddie Garcia bill, which is now in Congress and being pushed to be approved in September. And this will set better working conditions for our industry, from working hours to insurance, to giving occupational safety and health standards and support for our industry, kailangan po muna nating ibalik yung dignidad ng mga workers natin. Kasi everybody is in survival mode. Alam po nila na pag pumasok sila sa isang production, hindi po nila alam kung talagang binibigyan po ng prioridad ang kanilang kaligtasan, ang kanilang safety. We have to restore that. And then,
Well,
siguro the rest po will follow dahil eto na po, nakikipagtrabaho rin po kami sa IPOFIL para po mag-create naman ng framework para sa intellectual property ng
ay,
ating mga
yung IPOFIL, Lisa, yan ang isa sa mga favorite organization ko. I've worked with them. I gave them lots of training. They're very open and they're
Yes,
very teachable. So,
yes,
wala tayong problema. Ngayon, last question ko na lang, Lisa.
yes.
Kasi bago nagka-COVID, may mga kaibigan ako who were really stalwarts, champions of the indie film festival. Kung ganito na nagkakaroon ng ang tawag ba nila doon, parang ownership sa Manila Film Festival, hindi ba posible na mag-launch ng maraming iba't ibang festival para may paglagyan ng produkto yung mga artista natin, ating mga director and producers?
Um, while maganda po talaga yung film festivals kasi nakasanayan na siya ng mga Pilipino. It's an event-driven opportunity and platform para to gather audience. But we also have to be very strategic when we create these festivals. We have to understand who is the audience for this particular film festival, kailan siya ipi-place, anong panahon. Kasi pag masyado po siyang dikit-dikit at pare-pareho rin po yung pinapanood nila, magsasawa po yung mga audience natin. So, while we
Alam mo,
really...
sorry Lisa, hindi ako naniniwala dyan. Kasi pag pinakinggan mo itong mga kaibigan kong mga pasaway, wala nang ginawa kundi manood ng Korean telenovela. Araw-araw marunong nang mag-Koreana ang mga bruha.
Opo, pero in terms of Filipino po, yun po sa atin po. Kasi syempre, alam niyo naman po, pag talagang sariling atin din, parang may tinatawag silang fatigue. So, I think there, again, convergence, synergy among all of these film festival organizers, know the films, know the gaps. Ano yung kulang nating mga pelikula? We don't have children's films anymore. We need to grow our genre films because this is the one that really travels internationally. So there are a lot of opportunities for us to really maximize the opportunity of creating film festivals.
Well, good luck, and I support you as well as I support MMDA, MMFF ba yun? Kasi sa usapan, pagsasabayin kayo, hindi pagsasabunutan, pagsasabayin kayo mga beauty queen daw, kanya na lang umatras yung isa. So, at least nagkaliwanagan. Thank you very much, and please do keep in touch. Call us if you have other ideas, new projects, because we also want to support the film festival. Alam mo, ang mga kumupkup sa amin nung nag-martial law ay si Doc Perez, the Vera family, the Vera Perez family. Alam nyo, sila yung kumupkup sa amin, sila Marichu Maceda. So, nung lumalaki kami gano'n, nakita namin na ito pala parang pamilya din. So, film is part of the family.
Yes.
We support everyone.
Thank you, Sir Cito. I really believe na iisa lang naman din po talaga yung goal namin. And I hope that eventually makapag-usap po with MMDA at magkaroon po ng pag-aayos ito.
Okay. Thank you very much, Liza Diño. And please stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy. Ayan po, no? Walang nangyaring putukan, pagsabog. But I'm sorry to those who may have got annoyed by my statement, but that is a fact. There is an oligarchy, there is a cartel in the film industry at nagkaroon ng kapabayaan sa mga nagtatrabaho sa industriya. The fact that senior citizen actors and actresses are saying, what about us? We need our jobs. Kasi alam niyo po, ilan na rin yung nakita ko na halos pag walang project, magugutom. So in any case, we will continue to back the industry and we don't make it a personal issue but industry-wide issue. Thank you very much to Liza Diño. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, pag-usapan natin anong nangyari sa meeting ni Joey Concepcion, Presidential Advisor Joey Concepcion, dun sa mga powers that be at ano ang maasahan. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, mukhang ina-asthma yung soundbite na. Okay, you're back here on Agenda. And next up, we will be speaking with Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion. But before I call him in, I just want to set things in perspective. Alam niyo po, he's not getting the proper credit for the things he pushed for. Kasi alam niyo po, si Joey Concepcion, siya yung nangulit. He was the one who just kept nagging and nagging, open the economy, open the economy. Many of us were kind of scared back then and worried, and he pushed for that. He was the one who kept pushing for rapid testing as an alternative. And everybody said, nako, malabo yan, that's not accurate, etc. But he got it. And then he was the one who pushed for localized lockdowns. Wag na itong mga GCQ, wag na itong mga ECQ. Bara-barangay na lang, kung saan may problema, yun lang ang i-lockdown. And little by little, people, and especially in the IATF, began to realize there was wisdom in what he was saying. So, he says it straight. He may not be the most charming of guys. He can, rub you raw, but he's right, and he got things done. And so let's bring in Presidential Advisor Joey Concepcion. Joey, good morning to you.
Morning, Sito. And thank you for those kind words.
No, I just had to say it, bro. I just had to say it because, people need to be reminded that you have been consistent. And if we are benefiting anything right now, benefiting a little amount of liberty, a little amount of confidence and safety, it was because of those efforts. And you didn't come by them easy. I'm sure you had hecklers and you had critics galore. In any case, Joey, you were in a big powwow, a big meeting with big guns. I think conglomerates were represented, NGOs, etc. And primarily because, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a serious fear na baka biglang ibalik tayo sa ECQ and that would be the end of the economy. Could you just please take the floor and give us all your insights so far?
Well, 2 days ago, I called a meeting with the business conglomerates and other private sector entrepreneurs, and even some of the micro and small, medium entrepreneurs. Also, I called them, who joined us in the meeting were also the mayors. I think with about seven mayors there. And we also had members of the IATF, Secretary Galvez, Anyo Lorenzana, Vince Dizon. Of course, the Sunny Dominguez was there, and a number of others were there. And what was very important really here is really to try to align, no, what we want to see. Now, from a health issue, it's now an economic issue. So you have two basic problems. And how do we move forward? Our private sector implementer, Congresswoman Janet Garin, made an excellent presentation to the group, no, which basically talks about coexisting with the virus. And that's what we've been clamoring for. And how do we create a strategy on how do we coexist? No? So definitely, number one is the approach should be a granularized type of lockdown, no? Whereby if a barangay or a sitio is locked down, that's where the ECQ will be implemented, but not in the entire NCR or in the entire city. So the ECQ or MECQ could be implemented in a granular way. And I think there was it was understood that the mayors are very supportive of that approach. And I was happy to hear that each one of them presented their own plans, no, on how they would focus on this granularized type of lockdown. Mayor Magalang was also in the meeting, Benji Magalang and he's now the czar for tracing, no? And he cited also his experience. So I think that was part of what we discussed in the meeting, no? And I'm confident that and I was happy to note that the statements made by Chavez, Secretary Chavez, and of course Anyo and Lorenzana were all supportive towards this action, including mass targeted testing. No, and of course, Janet presented her pooled PCR plan. So that's where we are right now.
Okay, so the pooled PCR, which we spoke about, I think a month or a month and a half ago, that people were like saying, "What pooled PCR?" Now is actually beginning to become a practical reality and necessity, where you test 10 people using the same test kit, and if there is anyone positive, that kit will reflect it. So ang itetest mo yung 10 lang yon. Kung all 10 negative, nakatipid tayo. That's a quick explanation, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
So that's what is going to happen, and we're trying to execute this as fast as possible.
Mm.
So,
No, yeah. Go ahead.
So the idea is, if a barangay is locked down, it's that you do something. No? You test the people there, you isolate them, and Kong Janet was very insistent that no home quarantine should be allowed. They should be moved to isolation centers. No, and that's what they have to build right now. No, more isolation centers so that the rest of the people don't get infected, and that's very important. So that is basically where we are right now. Test and of course trace, and then of course you have to isolate and then treat. No, the infection is going up. There's no doubt about it. At least the death level is under control. But we eventually have to control the infection from going higher. No, and the only way to do this is to proceed with a granular type of lockdown, to proceed with mass targeted testing using pooled PCR. Of course, rapid test kits will still be there. You can't do away with that. That's already in the system. But as people say, let's look at the gold standard, which is PCR. So fine, this is the gold standard, and we will pool it so that not only that the speed of testing will be faster, but you will have prices going down. In other words, the pooled PCR, you're looking at 350 to 450 pesos per testing per person, basically. So it's almost comparable to a rapid test cost as well. No?
Yeah. So what will happen is you can do it for companies, for offices, etc., and you get to screen. Now the question is, what is the direction of the group as far as Malacanang is concerned? Because Harry Roque mentioned something that kind of got a lot of flack on social media: living experiment. Parang there's a living experiment daw in NCR, and some people even reacted, ano kami, guinea pigs. What is the team's mindset as far as, because today the president is supposed to make an announcement. Everyone's worried, Joey. Everyone's worried. It's like, ano ito, GCQ o ECQ?
I I think I don't know what Harry said about living experiment, but definitely what we are now working on is to help the 16 cities in NCR, no, and
Mm-hmm.
support them with pooled PCR testing. So it will be a joint effort. I'm trying to get private sector support to fund part of the pooled testing. So it's we're looking at basically 1,000 test kits to be used with a pool of 10. That's about 10,000 residents of the choice of the LGU. That it will be targeted. So it's 10,000 per city is more or less where we are at this point in time. And if we
Mm.
can execute this whole plan with the 16 cities in NCR plus one municipality, that I will have to find the private sector to support this. So we launched this pool PCR. Of course, this is part of the research now that we're doing
Mm.
uh, in the implementation. No? So maybe that's what he meant. It's not that people are guinea pigs. It's still PCR that's being used, but this is part of the research, and it's prudent for us to do it. No? So Philippine Society of Pathology is finalizing the output, whether it is a pool of 5, 10, or 20. No? So
Mm-hmm.
once we know that, then we implement it in the private sector, frontliners, and with the LGUs, no, our partners, the cities. No? So, and that was part of the meeting we discussed also. One of the reasons we had that meeting. No? There'll be
Yeah.
succeeding meetings with the mayors as well. But we have to have, there's no other way. How do you control the infection? Of course, we have to all practice social distancing or safe distancing and wearing of masks, and that's very important. But we have to create greater visibility, and if we want the gold standard, then it will be through PCR, which is, but we will now pull it. No? So you can test people faster, and it will be cheaper. So that's the formula. And of course, the localized granular lockdown approach, what barangay, sitios, or whatever, will allow commerce to continue. No, I think everybody's feeling the crunch. It's not just private sector, Sito. Even
Mm-hmm.
local government is feeling the revenue crunch because if people don't operate their businesses there, and how will the cities get their revenue? And same with the national government. How will people pay their taxes? You can see the reports now.
Mm-hmm.
Every company has dropped in income by half. So that means half the taxes will go down by half because some are losing, some are income is down by half, some even by 80%. So you can see that revenues will go down, and eventually the country will not be able to generate enough revenue to pay to balance its budget. No.
Yeah, I forgot to mention in that compliment intro I made for you, I gave you. I forgot to mention the fact that you have been the pillar of Go Negocio, the driving force, and for many years you are personally, directly responsible for getting people to get into businesses. And last night I was saying to myself, ano kaya ang feeling ni Joey? Para siyang tatay, and makikita niya little by little the companies that he helped start up are slowly closing down because of this situation. How bad is the situation, Joey, in terms of these tiny, small, micro businesses that you help fathered or founded, and are now, according to the DTI, 25% daw ng mga ganyang business nagsara na in the last
Well,
4 months.
definitely. I mean, the lockdown of 2.5 months caused really a lot of damage with many entrepreneurs. I mean, my own network of friends, I mean, those standing are basically in the essentials. We're fortunate that we are in the essential sector. But all
Mhm.
this in the retail sector are struggling. I mean, restaurants, massage parlors, etc. I mean, and it's all over. And you just looking at the newspaper, when you look at the business section, from large businesses to medium size to MSMEs. Although since we restarted, there's an uptick already right now. No, people are rehiring, people are happy that they have a chance. And the reason why we cannot go to ECQ is we're entering August. August to December is the strongest months. This is the period when entrepreneurs will have a chance to recover their losses or at least reduce their losses and improve their cash flow. But if we go under ECQ during this period, many of them will throw the towel. They will not be able to make it because this is your best part. And of course, uh, I know we have to help the health situation, and that is compulsory. But remember, when you have people losing their jobs and losing their businesses, the impact is also as bad, no? Because then people will get sick, people will have no nutrition, they have no food to buy. How do they improve their immunity? So,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Joey,
that's
did you
go ahead.
guys discuss movement or mobility in that meeting? Because you know, one thing that a lot of people don't seem to realize is we have a lot of employees, workers who live outside Metro Manila or who during the announcements, the rumors of lockdown fled Metro Manila and went to the provinces, and they're now like, sir, nagugutom na ako dito, mga technician, therapist, mekaniko, nagugutom na ako dito, sir, walang trabaho dito, hindi ako makabalik sa Manila, bawal bumalik. Has this been addressed?
Well, you cannot help it, but people really want to go back to the provinces. One, the infection levels are much lower than where we are in NCR. That's number
Mhm.
one. Number two, at least they can go back to agriculture. They can plant. They can, there are
Yeah,
other ways.
but this is the reverse, Joey. They're now wanting to come back. Kasi sabi nila, dito kakain ako ng kangkong pero hindi ako tatagal. At least sa Manila, kung magtrabaho ko, may makikitahin ako. It's the return of the exodus, so to speak.
Well, I didn't hear about that. But if they were to come back in Metro Manila, right now they have to come back when jobs are being generated. So we a lot of jobs have been lost. So there's some jobs that are being recovered, but not much. No, I
Mhm.
mean, the you can see the number of restaurants that are open. No, there are very few still. I mean, while there is dine in, not everybody is open for dining. It's a gradual opening up. No, so.
Yeah.
If they move back to NCR without a job, then they'll just compound the problem. If they're in the province already, that's why we have a agri webinar on Friday. We're pushing that people have to go back to agri. That's insulated from this pandemic actually. So there's certain sectors that are insulated from this pandemic, and agriculture is one of them. No?
Mhm. You can actually eat your produce. If you can't sell it, at least you will eat. Parang balik tayo sa panahon ng mga great-great-grandparents natin.
That's right, and there's so much opportunities, and Secretary Dar is putting a lot of effort in his plant program to really
Mm.
encourage people to be agri entrepreneurs. No, and that's food, and that's an essential. And at least if you can't sell it, you can eat your own produce. No, so I think that's the way forward. It's just that everybody, you can see the stadium being full because people want to go back home. No, but
Yeah.
uh, Sito, I'm still optimistic. No, I think in the meeting, Ricky Razon mentioned that the key to all of these issues are really implementation. No, and
Mhm.
he shared that feeling, and the secretaries there took it well, and MVP talked about his hospitals being challenged. But still, they're going to increase the number of beds to be able to allow more patients in COVID patients in. So the private sector is really responding very well. No? And with these efforts on testing, PCR testing, the private sector will also come in to support. But remember, we already have donation fatigue. No, private sector is not doing well, so
Mhm.
they're also affected by all of this pressure. They see the need to help, no, because closing the economy does further damage. So if we don't help improve the health situation, your economic problem will never get away. No?
Okay, now given all that's been discussed, what should we expect today. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, yung sinasabi po ni Joey Concepcion, may webinar sila. You just go to your internet and look for it. It will be with Secretary William Dar tomorrow 10 a.m. Para po yung Go Negosyo session pero on agriculture. At least kung wala naman kayong masyadong maisip na business, pag-aralan nyo na yan. In any case, so what should we expect in today or in the coming days, Joey?
Well, I'm hoping that the IATF will retain GCQ. I think that's the best thing. But even if they would retain GCQ, we are always threatened by the fact that you can always go back to ECQ if the infection is not controlled. No, but that's why my proposal is, even whatever it is, implement whatever GCQ or ECQ at the granular level, no, whether it's PTU or a barangay. So, because not all areas in NCR have the same level of infection. So don't penalize the other areas. So the approach really is correct. And in fairness to President Duterte, he approved the granular approach as recommended by the IATF also. No? And I think if we can stick to that and not panic, then we should be fine. No? Because I really am concerned about the rising infection. It's all over, as we all know. They say that this strain now is a little bit more highly infectious. You can get it easily, but it's a little bit milder. That's what I hear from the doctors. I don't know if it's true.
You know, that's good you mentioned that, Joey, no? Because I think even from the communications experts that I deal with, it's really all about the messaging, because for the longest time it has been scare, 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 and we've all been pushing for educate, educate, remind, remind. And you pointing out this new type of coronavirus, because you mentioned something about living with COVID. Yung presentation ni Janet Garino, no? Paano ba yun? Ano ba yung concept na yun?
Well, what she said there in her coexisting with the virus is basically, it primarily, we have to test. Now, that's the most important. Use pool PCR, use rapid, any form of testing to create visibility. Then that's what you do when you lock down on a granular approach, no, a barangay or a sitio, and then you isolate the people who are infected and move them away from their homes and into an isolation center so that they don't contaminate more, no? And that is for everyone. And that's why I was told by Harry that they're now getting hotels and all of that. They're expanding. They're trying to expand the isolation centers, no? And of course, the hospitals have to expand their ICU bed capacity. No? That's very important. No? In times of war, you have to have your, when you're in war in our parents, you have all the hospitals ready to take in the wounded. No? Here, the wounded is being hit by this invisible enemy. No? It's a different type of war. No? But if you have those facilities, the care facilities, then you will prevent people from dying. No, I mean they will be and in fairness, at least the recoveries are improving. Our death level is fairly okay. But we have to control that but then in the end, you need more ventilators. No?
Yeah, I think that's the one topic that is not being discussed publicly, because you pointed out, you mentioned the death rate. While yes, we have the highest, almost the highest in the region of past 85,000, our deaths per million is quite low, which tells us that our doctors, our healthcare facilities are doing a great job dealing with this disease. And that is not being discussed. What are we doing right in dealing? Because when people realize na, nagagamot pala eh. In fact, there's a new movement in the US now, frontline doctors who are saying there is a cure, there is a way of treating, not preventing it, but a cure for the symptoms. And now they're going really vocal about it, because it needs to be discussed. So, what's your take on that?
I think our doctors are doing a good job. The treatment,
Yeah.
I think, handle on the treatment. Talking to some of them, if they approve this Chinese traditional medicine called Lenwa, I mean, I hope that I got the word right.
Mhm.
And talking to the Filipino Chinese friends of mine and the chamber, they say it's so effective. But I'm glad that Director Domingo approved the traditional Chinese medicine. So that's being given to the public now. No, so all of this combination of Western and traditional medicine will help, and that's why maybe we're able to manage the situation from getting worse. No,
Mhm.
and in fairness. Magaling naman ang Filipino doctor in time,
Mhm.
so they're good at this. So I'm happy to note that at least that's under control. No,
Yeah.
but of course, the source of infection, we have to try to find a solution to that. No, and
Yeah.
uh, and there's no other way but to really test, isolate, and of course test, trace, isolate, and treat. No, those are
Yeah.
important.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. At least good to know na nag-usap ng masinsinan. There was a meeting of the minds, and that the president approved the granular lockdown approach. And hopefully hindi na nga mag-ECQ, mag-GCQ na lang tayo. Go tough on what we need to be tough about, but I agree with you 100% because no economy, no Filipino. Thank you
Yes,
very much, Joey. Yeah, go
thank you.
ahead.
No, I wanted to say that everybody has to still do the basic stuff. No, wearing of mask and safe distancing are mandatory things. No, and I think moving forward, we will be able to control this, and it's a matter of executing and implementing all of these programs. This is not going to be a first meeting with the private sector and public sector. In about a month, we will convene again and share again. Oh, have we improved? So that's
Okay.
what we're trying. Okay.
Pahabol na
Thank you.
lang, Joey.
Yeah.
Pahabol, if you ever have those meetings with the president or with the other people, call it crazy. I said in a column, we need hospital rooms, we need all this stuff. Ang daming mga kondo na ginawa na hindi pa na-turn over. Siguro pwedeng hiramin muna para magamit for hospitals because everyone keeps saying we're running out of ICU, out of hospitals, but the Chinese already told us months ago, I think sometime April, if I'm not mistaken, they sent a delegation here and they said, you need to build the same hospital we built in Wuhan. You need to build 1,000-bed hospitals. And now we're realizing we missed that boat. In any case, thank you, Joey. Hope you can pass
Yes,
that
Sipa.
on.
I will.
Okay.
I will pass it on. Thank you, Sipa.
Okay. That's a presidential advisor on entrepreneurship, but also has now taken the title of lead lead nagger for solutions. Talagang, you have to admire the guy. He's persistent, and that's what we need. We need people to be persistent, push for options, push for ideas, push for suggestions. Hindi po kasi pwedeng, one size fits all or one rule applies to all. We need to listen to everybody's suggestion. And if you sincerely believe that you are pushing forward solutions to help, not to criticize, not to be a negatron, not to just really bash people, then do so because we need to do that. And I hope the people in government realize that we in media are also trying to do the same. Kasi meron po dyan na namimili na kung sino yung kakausapin, kung saan sila magpapa-interview. And to make matters worse, sasabihan pa yung mga ibang kasama nila, no, you will not give interviews, there's a gag order, etc. And then yung mga taong yun magsusumbong sa amin, sasabihin, Kuyang, may gag order, hindi kami pwede magpa-interview sa inyo. Who loses? Hindi naman ako matatalo. There are thousands, hundreds of people who want to be on TV, who deserve to be on TV. And if you're a government official who think you're too good for media or for this show or don't like my face, well, who loses? I don't lose, you don't gain, but the public loses out because you decided not to share what you know, what you're supposed to be doing with our audience. Ganun lang po yun. Kasi pag nagpersonalan tayo o may tampuhan tayo, nothing gets done, nothing is accomplished. So, as Joey Concepcion pointed out, please wear a mask, social distance, okay? Maghugas kayo ng kamay sa office and then limit your movement. But at the same time, pakiusap lang po no sa mga Pilipino, ayaw natin yung sumbongero. But I recently learned of a situation where an employer had his people tested regularly for jobs because they're contractors, and then nag-test positive po yung dalawa. So pinauwi niya, sabi niya mag-quarantine kayo. Pinahatid pa niya sa kanilang office truck yata or something. Yung dalawang bugoy, bumaba, sumakay ng jeepney. Positive yung dalawang yon. And then, hindi pa nag-home quarantine, na nung minonitor na nung kakilala, biglang lumabas na naghanap pa ng trabaho sa ibang kumpanya because they couldn't report for work. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have positive cases, you know of positive cases, hindi po ito issue na sumbongero. Issue po ito ng public safety and public health. Pag meron po kayong alam na empleyado nyo, kasama ninyo, i-report nyo sa barangay. Hindi po dahil para gusto natin sila ikulong. Kasi pag sila nanatili o nakaikot kalat-kalat, yan, 85,000. Talo. Talo tayong lahat. Walang panalo. That's all for today. I'm Cito Beltran and that's today's agenda. Please pray. Continue to pray. Continue to petition the Lord for our overall healing, the healing of the land, both physical and spiritual. God bless all of you. I'm Cito Beltran. That's today's agenda. Bye-bye.